Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling one of those incredibly specific, kind of wonderful questions you find online.
It's a real collision of worlds. The question is, can a Scientologist also believe in the lizard people conspiracy theory?
Right. And to answer that, you have to put two massive, fully realized narratives right next to each other.
Exactly. On one side, you have L. Ron Hubbard's 76-trillion-year-old space opera, and on the other, the modern political reptilian theory that David Icke really popularized.
So our mission for this deep dive is to basically navigate Hubbard's whole cosmic map. We're talking the thetans, Xenu, the Markov Confederacy, and see if there's any room in that universe for a shape-shifting draconian to fit in.
And we've got all the sources here really diving into the cosmology on one side and the historical roots of the reptilian theory on the other. So to even start, we have to understand the absolute basic unit in Scientology.
The thetan.
The thetan. It's the human spirit. It's immortal. It's massless, sizeless, a pure point of consciousness.
But it's trapped.
It's trapped. The core belief is that the thetan is currently stuck inside a messed body. And messed is matter, energy, space, and time. The physical universe.
Okay, so if the ultimate reality is spiritual, the thetan and the physical world is basically a cage. How do we get from that to, starships and galactic wars?
Well, that's the bridge. The whole point of the spiritual journey is for the thetan to remember its whole track.
The whole track, which is like the complete record of every single past life.
Every single one. And by remembering it, you can become what's called an operating thetan, or OT. That means having total control over messed. But the scale of this history, that's what makes it so different.
And we are not talking like ancient Rome.
No. We're talking cosmologically ancient. Hubbard said the universe itself is 4 quadrillion years old.
4 quadrillion.
And the thetans have been alive for 76 trillion years. And this entire history, filled with these massive intergalactic civilizations and wars, Hubbard called that space opera.
And he actually taught that modern science fiction, like Star Wars or whatever, is just us unconsciously remembering these literal, actual events.
That's the doctrine. It is not a metaphor. It is literal history. And to reach the highest spiritual levels, you have to confront the trauma from those trillions of years of existence.
So every person has this eternal spirit, the thetan, but its history is it's governed by these galactic wars. And that brings us to the foundational trauma. This is where it gets so interesting. We have to talk about the main event, Incident 2.
Otherwise known as the Xenu catastrophe. Yes.
This is the big one.
This is the big one. It's the reason, according to the doctrine, that human beings are so spiritually damaged today. It happened 75 million years ago.
And it starts with a dictator named Xenu.
Xenu. He was a ruler of the Galactic Confederacy. That's 76 planets, 26 stars. And he had an overpopulation problem, like 178 billion people per planet.
It's the sheer scale combined with the bureaucratic method. He didn't just invade, he sent out paperwork.
Exactly. He called in billions of citizens under the pretense of a tax audit.
A tax audit.
They were paralyzed, frozen in this alcohol-glycol mixture, and then loaded onto these huge spacecraft.
The ones that look like DC-8s.
Look just like DC-8s, but with no propellers or fans.
Yeah.
And they were all flown here to Earth, which was called Tegiak back then.
So they get all these frozen bodies to Tegiak, and the method for the final act is just unbelievable.
Volcanic hydrogen bombs. He had the bodies stacked around volcanoes. Vesuvius, Mount Shasta, Etna.
All the big ones.
And then detonated hydrogen bombs inside all of them simultaneously.
Which released all the thetans, the spirits.
Freed them, but only to be trapped again. He used this electronic ribbon and energy field to capture them. And then the brainwashing started.
The R6 implant. This is the core of it all, isn't it?
It is. For 36 days straight, these trapped thetans were forced to watch 3D movies that implanted all these false traumatic memories.
So if you're a follower, you're essentially saying that all of human history, all of our religions, it's a lie. It's a movie that a space dictator made us watch.
And the implants specifically included images from all major world religions, like the crucifixion.
Wait, why would he do that? If the goal is spiritual freedom, being a pure spirit, why implant images of physical suffering? It seems backwards.
But that's the trick. By implanting ideas like the crucifixion, Xenu convinced the thetans that they were physical, that they were weak, that they could suffer and die.
Instead of being timeless and powerful.
Exactly. And that trauma made them lose their identities and sort of glom together into these clusters. Those clusters are the body thetans that are said to cling to our mass bodies today.
And a huge part of the auditing process is removing those body thetans.
That's the core work. So our suffering, our confusion, even the existence of religion itself is all traced back to this one specific event, 75 million years ago.
And what happened to Xenu?
He was eventually overthrown by a group called the Loyal Officers and locked away in an electronic mountain trap. But Earth was just abandoned. It's still a prison planet.
A prison planet. Okay, so that's the ancient trauma. But if Earth is still a prison, who are the jailers today?
Now that requires us to look at a completely different civilization.
One that looks suspiciously like 1950s America.
That would be the Marquette Confederacy. They were established about 200,000 years ago, and they're supposedly still very active. Their headquarters is in the Big Dipper.
And Hubbard's description of them is just so specific. He called them a decadent, kicked-in-the-head civilization.
And their whole aesthetic, it's a near-perfect copy of 1950s or 60s America. They wear business suits, fedora hats. They drive these big cars with chrome fins, even on their spaceships.
It's like a galactic version of Mad Men, but with oppressive bureaucracy and a really, really scary tech system.
Terrifying. Their whole government was this kind of oppressive socialist system, and they invented the income tax as a form of punishment.
And the penalty for mistake was?
The death penalty.
Yeah.
Hubbard wrote, 1 comma wrong, and it's dead forever. It just shows you the kind of psychological control they use.
Why the 1950s look? What's the function of that aesthetic?
Well, it gives you this feeling of rigid conformity, you know, control through paperwork and social structure, not just brute force. But the really weird part is their favorite pastime.
Motor racing.
Motor racing. With turbine cars on tracks that were booby-trapped with live atom bombs.
And people would watch from behind leaded glass windows. It's insane.
And L. Ron Hubbard wrote himself into this story. He claimed that in past lives he was a famous Marcabian race car driver, the Green Dragon, the Red Devil.
Which, for a follower, makes that history feel very personal. But what is their role now? How do they connect to the prison planet idea?
They are the current wardens. When a person on Earth dies, their thetan is pulled into a Marcab report station.
For more brainwashing.
Exactly. It's called the Train Goals implant, and it happens right before you get sent back to reincarnate. These report stations are supposedly on Mars or even hidden in the Pyrenees here on Earth.
So they're basically running a soul recycling program to keep everyone trapped and distracted from, becoming an operating thetan.
That's the idea. They're the bureaucratic jailers of today.
Okay, so that gives us the full Hubbard picture. You've got the ancient Xenu trauma, the spiritual parasites from that, the body thetans, and now the current bureaucratic recyclers, the Marcabians. So now let's pivot to the other half of the question.
The competitor, the reptilians, or lizard people.
This is the modern, very political conspiracy theory, right? Popularized by David Icke in the late 90s.
That's the one. The basic claim is that these shape-shifting reptilian humanoids, sometimes called reptoids or draconians, come from the Alpha Draconis star system, or maybe another dimension.
And their goal is totally different from the Marcabians. The Marcabians want to recycle your soul. The reptilians want what?
They want immediate earthly, political, and economic power. The theory is that they shape-shift into human form to infiltrate the highest levels of society.
So they're supposed to be global leaders.
The most powerful ones, you always hear about the British royal family, the Rothschilds, American presidents. The idea is they are secretly running the world right now.
It's amazing how this idea actually goes way back to, 1920s pulp fiction.
It does. Robert E. Howard wrote a story in 1929 called The Shadow Kingdom. And it had these humanoid serpent men who could imitate people. The idea's been around. Icke just applied it directly to modern political figures.
And you see it pop up all over the culture now. Sometimes it's taken very seriously, like with some QAnon followers, but other times it's just, a political joke or an insult.
It's become a readily available explanation for why the world feels so chaotic and controlled by secret forces.
So, here's the core of it. Can these two enormous, detailed stories live inside the same head? Can you believe Xenu did his thing 75 million years ago and that reptilians are running the British government today?
Right, and this is where you have to look at how flexible the doctrine is. From what we can see in, online discussions with members, it seems like belief in outside ideas like lizard people is pretty individualized.
So as long as Hubbard didn't specifically forbid it, it's fair game.
Pretty much. If it's not prescribed by the doctrine, you're generally free to form your own opinion.
But the official church always seems to be trying to distance itself from the whole aliens thing, right? They really push back on that.
That's the contradiction. The official statements will call any suggestion that they're, descended from aliens absurd or outright lies meant to ridicule them. They want the public focus to be on the spiritual practices, not the space opera.
Even though you have to study the space opera to advance.
Exactly.
But the question here isn't about being descended from aliens, it's about whether Hubbard's galaxy has room for other non-human species who might be up to no good. Xenu and the Markavians are basically humanoid, so where do lizard people fit?
And that is the absolute key. Because while the main villains are humanoid, L. Ron Hubbard absolutely did talk about other non-human alien life.
He did.
Oh, yes. He described a group called the Fifth Invader Force as these very strange insect-like creatures with unthinkably horrible hands. And, more to the point, he also mentioned snake men and cat people from other parts of the galaxy.
Snake men. So the idea of a reptilian-style species is already baked into the wider lore.
It's already there. The framework allows for all sorts of non-human threats. The modern reptilian conspiracy just provides a name and a face for a present-day operation by one of those hostile species.
So a Scientologist could logically say, okay, Xenu is the source of all our spiritual trauma. That's settled. But these reptilians, or snake men, they're just another hostile alien race running a political operation on this prison planet right now.
Precisely. It doesn't contradict the main story at all. It just adds another layer of modern political context to life on the prison planet.
It almost creates a perfect mirror. You have the Markavians controlling the spiritual world through bureaucracy, tax forms, and brainwashing.
And then you have the Reptilians controlling the physical, the messed world, through political infiltration. It makes a strange kind of sense if you're already primed to believe in secret, powerful forces controlling things.
It's just amazing how two totally separate belief systems can converge on the same basic idea. The world is broken because secret, non-human entities are in charge.
The fundamental human need to explain suffering and chaos is so powerful. And both of these narratives are incredibly detailed attempts to do just that.
So we've gone from a universe that's 4 quadrillion years old through hydrogen bombs and volcanoes to 1950s galactic tax collectors and finally landed on political lizard people. The sheer detail in these constructed realities is, well, it's something else.
It really shows that for people looking for answers, a complex, all-encompassing story can be the most compelling one.
Which brings us to our final provocative thought for you, the learner. If gravity itself is just a social construct that the thetans agree on, like in the story of the floating city Arslakis, which only crashed after a slave invented the idea of mass, what other fundamental laws of science are just waiting for an ARC break to come crashing down to Earth? You've been on The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.